Kazuya is killed while attempting to save a girl and reincarnates as an aristocrat with incredible powers. Kazuya is walking out to get a late-night snack when two girls bump into him. He sees that they're being chased by a man with a knife and initially wants to run, but decides to help the girls. So he tackles the aggressor but gets stabbed in the process before blacking out. He wakes up in a big fancy room and is shocked to find himself in the body of a 3-year-old boy. Soon, he realizes that he's been reincarnated into another world. Because he still has knowledge from his past life, he quickly makes acquaintance with the rest of the family. Kane's father, named Garm, is a high-ranking noble in charge of an army that defends the borders of the escort kingdoms. Kazuya learns about the Adventurers Guild and the monsters in the forest, which immediately piques his interest. He reveals his desire to study history and magic, and his parents approve, but explain that he'll have to wait until he's 5 and baptized to practice. Over time, he secretly practices his magic, and his older sister Rein teaches him history. On the day of the baptism, his parents reveal that their magic is bestowed upon them by the 7 gods they worship. Inside the temple, they approach the 7 statues for the baptism, and Kane is transported to the realm of the gods. They all develop a fondness for him and give him all their blessings and protection. When he returns, he hides his status because he knows that it's going to be a big deal. And sure enough, when he finally checks, he sees that he's been immensely blessed in all forms of magic. Eventually, his parents find out, and they tell him to conceal this, as the kingdom may see him as a threat. A few days later, he's presented on his debut and reveals his desire to become an adventurer to the people. Afterward, Garm suggests that he would need to study a lot if he truly wants to become an adventurer. He appoints 2 ladies named Millie and Nina, who is an elf, to tutor him for 3 years. The tutelage commences immediately, and they take Kane outside for sportsmanship training. The tutors realize that Kane is already way ahead of beginner-level training, seeing his impressive sportsmanship and magical abilities. As a result, the teachers conclude that they won't be able to train him within the castle walls, and suggest that the real-world experience suits him best. They take the proposal to Garm, and he permits it, but on the condition that Kane returns home before it gets dark. Outside the city walls, he displays more of his abilities and even defeats a killer rabbit and puts the scores in his item box to show his mother and sister. In the heat of the moment, he attempts to enter the dangerous forest, but his tutors stop him and tell him that monsters charge out and attack the kingdom every few decades. But this only increases his motivation to become an adventurer. The next day, Kane's tutors take him to the guild hall to register for tougher quests. However, they're harassed by some other adventurers, and Kane doesn't hesitate to humiliate them before knocking them out cold. Kane and his tutors proceed to the forest for training. The training goes on every day, and 3 years pass in a flash. Millie and Nina don't extend their contracts, however, but Kane takes it in good faith. He thanks them for their effort and dedication by sending them special gifts he made using materials from rare creatures. And of course, they appreciate the grand gesture, and he bids them farewell. Kane goes on a dungeon exploration where he's confronted by a high-level dragon. As usual, he slays the beast rather quickly and casually, and gets that his stats may have leveled up too much after the feat. 2 years later, Kane is now 10 years old, and like all noble sons, must go to the capital to make his debut. Since Rein is 12 years old, she is of age to start school, and confidently states that she would rank first in her class. Along the way, Kane scans the area and realizes that some soldiers are under attack by orcs far ahead. He uses his wind magic to fly ahead and slays the beasts. He then goes to the guards and uses a healing potion to tend to them. Shortly after, his family's carriage arrives to see that he's already handled everything alone. Suddenly, 2 ladies step out of the carriage that Kane just saved, and they're none other than the Princess Telestia and the Duke's daughter, Miss Silk. After casting a spell to help the girls relax, they thank him and even appear to be infatuated with him as they bicker over him and ask him to travel with them, since they're headed to the same destination. He agrees, and later that night they lodge in the town of Renoma. The royal daughters insist that he share a room with them so he can protect them, but the real reason is quite obvious. After a week of repeated night routines, Kane is exhausted from sharing rooms with the girls and is thankful that they've arrived at their destination. Upon arrival at the capital, the king summons Kane to thank him and rewards him greatly, giving him the title of a baron. In a closed-door meeting, the king and duke offer their daughter's hands in marriage to Kane. He eventually bows to the pressure and accepts. Kane goes to pray at a church in the capital and is summoned to the realm of the gods again. Xenom, the head god, affirms that Kane's powers are too much for a human, but states that he'll have to manage because making him a demigod would cause immense boredom for him. The gods agree that he should use his knowledge and abilities to invent something and send him back. In the city, Kane meets a girl named Parma, who is learning under the tutelage of her uncle in his shop. Kane believes that her uncle has the materials for him to create the recreational device he has in mind. He pitches his idea to the craftsman and provides funding for a prototype. A few days later, it's ready, and Kane is pleased with the execution. He gives the go-ahead for the mass production of 2 different types of the game, and once again releases the funds for the project and seals their contract with the god of commerce, who patents the design. Soon, the day of his debut arrives, and Kane goes with his family to the ceremony. On getting there, he makes sure to acknowledge his 2 potential brides and flatters them greatly. After the formalities are done, he hangs out with the other noble children, but some of them try to pick a fight with him, oblivious to his status and new title. However, Silk reveals this, and the group of boys immediately apologizes and scamper away. Afterward, she suggests they go on a date, and Celestia finds out, so Kane just makes it a trio. Their chat is interrupted by the king, who calls him in for another closed-door meeting with the Duke, where he commends his game and proceeds to warn him not to reveal his engagement to their daughters to anyone. Kane is handed the keys to the mansion that comes with his barren title. Unfortunately, on getting to the building, he finds it in a terrible state, but proceeds to inspect the inside and is pleased with the overall size and design. He uses his incredible magical abilities to instantly fix up the entire mansion to look brand new before settling down to admire it. Not long after, his maid, Sylvia, along with other maids, arrive with the butler named Colin to meet the place in perfect condition. A message is sent back home, and after a while, his family visits him in his new home, and they're all very impressed. His father points out that he throws a housewarming party, as it's a tradition among nobles. The next few days, he plans the event with Sylvia and Colin, who bring up several ideas to make the party a good one. Kane intends to gift the guests glass cups, never seen in the kingdom before, as gifts, and prepares a special recipe as well. The king summons Kane to complain that he hasn't received an invitation, but the boy apologizes, explaining that he's not on the level to invite the king, but then officially invites him since he insists. The night of the party arrives, and Kane does a bang-on job of impressing all his guests. The king is also in attendance and can't help but praise his hospitality before Kane is given a standing ovation by everyone. One of the high-ranking nobles, however, can't hide his envy and begins to make a scene, but the king comes in time to put him in his place. Magna permits Kane to drop the bodies of the monsters he killed with the knights. He meets the vice captain of the knights, who shows him where to put them, and is shocked when the young boy brings out several gigantic beasts from his item box. Before leaving, the vice captain takes the opportunity to invite Kane to the upcoming knights training, and he hesitantly agrees. The day arrives, and even though the captain isn't present yet, the mock battles begin between the overpowered boy and the knights in training. Just as the battle is about to intensify, the captain, who appears to be an elf, orders the knights to stop and wonders why they're taking on one person alone. But when she realizes who he is, she takes the opportunity to challenge him to a duel. At first, it looks like they're evenly matched, but our boy doesn't disappoint and wins the duel, forcing her to submit. The defeat seems to spark some sort of affection in her for the young lad, and she makes it known that she intends to marry him in the future. She introduces herself as Tifana, the daughter of a duke. Kane turns down her proposal, stating that he can't agree to marriage on his own, and she instantly suggests that they take it to the king. Bad idea. When they meet the king to inform him, he's annoyed as expected and reveals that he's already engaged, but the information makes her desire him more. The king has no choice but to allow her to join the bandwagon and wonders how Kane can be so strong. The older men come up with a theory that he's a disciple of the gods and put their claim to the test by summoning him again. Magna presents him with an emperor-level magic book written by the first king, and when he casually reads the texts, their suspicions that he was reincarnated are confirmed, and it seems like the jig is up. He confesses everything, revealing that he met the gods, and begs them not to take his new life away from him. The king agrees to let it slide, and even suggests that Kane should be king after seeing his stats. Later on, the little guy apologizes to Celestia and Silk for getting another bride, and with Tifana pulling him away for another mock battle, today's recap comes to an end. See you in the next one.